Speaking of events on the go, let's take you back live to the National Assembly now. That's where a number of political parties are assembled to discuss the country's water woes. Yesterday, Water and Sanitation Minister Phumi Majudina gave a media briefing outlining their response to this, specifically in Johannesburg. There's a much broader discussion taking place in Parliament this morning. Let's listen in.
Institutions involved to spur innovation and research and produce young professionals for water sector careers. Without this, our ambitious plans fall into pipe dreams. South Africa's water scarcity is exacerbated by climate change, and I'm disappointed that this did not feature anywhere in your speech. We have erratic rainfall and decreasing heat impacting drinking water and food security. Ignoring these climate effects is inexcusable, and they must feature in the national water policy. Immediate, drastic interventions are required. Action SA proposes integrating the national water and sanitation into a single infrastructure entity, reallocating 5 billion spent on foreign wars and conflicts to repair domestic infrastructure, introducing punitive waterways pricing, and revising construction codes for water resilience. Above all, the Water and Sanitation Master and Sanitation Plan must be immediately implemented. Without swift action, South Africa will face an unprecedented humanitarian crisis.
Thank you. Honourable 3.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As we consider the statement of the Minister, it is the view of the ACDP that water security of our nation is threatened not only by drought, but more importantly by the efficient storing, distribution and utilisation thereof. The ACDP commends the progress that has been made post-apartheid in bringing piped water to millions of predominantly black South Africans. In 2022, over 82.4% of households in the country had access to piped water, either inside their dwelling or inside their yards, according to Stats SA. Clearly, the greater problem to our water security is not that South Africa is a water-scarce country, but rather that the vast majority of our municipalities, almost 50% of water purchased, is lost through leakage, broken pipes and theft, Minister, as you indicated in your presentation. But added to this dilemma, 59% of our municipalities were insolvent as at September 2022, and the vast majority do not invest in the basic amount required for infrastructure repairs and maintenance, including water infrastructure. In addition to that, we have water boards that are at risk of bankruptcy, and we have the water tanker mafias allegedly sabotaging water infrastructure. The ACDP is aware of the initiative to develop the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan, which is to provide a comprehensive schedule of actions needed to address present challenges, to estimate the investments required to ensure effective water resources, to improve water and sanitation delivery, as well as to facilitate effective integration, investment planning, and the implementation of actions and evaluation of achievements. But, Honourable Speaker, as we face a looming water shedding, the ACDP calls on this department to fast-track the building of desalination plants, to recycle our wastewater for agriculture use, to upscale drip irrigation to our small-scale farmers, to identify sustainable aquifers, and to make greater use of rainwater harvesting. As the ACDP, we also caution that if this department and the Minister does not address the lack of maintenance of infrastructure leading to broken or damaged pipes, then water security will become a broken pipe dream. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Nkwankwa.
Icela nami optional time, Speaker. Thank you very much.
There is no optional time.
Honourable members, your department minister recently presented deeply troubling statistics which revealed a sharp decline in our water quality and reliability over the past decade. It is unbelievable that almost half, or 46% of our water supply systems are now failing to meet safety standards, a shocking increase from just 5% in 2014. This decline puts countless South Africans at risk, exposing them to unsafe drinking water and serious health hazards. Our wastewater systems, too, are in a critical state of disrepair, with over 40% now in a dysfunctional state. Over 41% of our water supply is lost to leaks and inefficiencies, while municipal debts threaten to collapse our water boards, worsening the plight of our communities. Perhaps nowhere is this more evident, or this crisis more evident, than in Johannesburg, the economic hub of our nation. Our economic powerhouse faces recurrent water shortages and a deteriorating infrastructure. A data investigation by the Daily Maverick, for example, shows that Johannesburg has already had 1,604 water cuts in October and 3,318 in September. To make matters worse, the Johannesburg Water Board has been weighed down by political appointees lacking the necessary skills to manage this vital resource. In the Eastern Cape, for example, in other parts of the country, towns like Makhanda, Port Alfred, Fort Beaufort, and Gqeberha face severe water outages, with residents having to rely on bottled water to survive, with even schools and universities at times temporarily having to close, frequently due to lack of water. A recent report, Minister, by the Water Community Action Network, a network of scientists who are committed to advocating for clean, safe, and sustainable water, reveals that 11 municipalities across 6 provinces are repeat offenders, consistently failing quality tests without alerting residents. These municipalities have shown repeated E. coli contamination and should be issuing boil water alerts to protect the public. Our view is that these are not isolated cases. Other municipalities across our country continue to fail water quality standards. Every South African has a right to know the quality of water they consume. It is essential that all municipalities make monthly water quality tests publicly available. If we do not act urgently, tragedies like the one in Harmanskraal, where lives were lost due to contaminated water, may become common. We demand accountability, transparency, and capable leadership. Thank you.
Honorable Ghana.
Nakhensa mthamaxitulu vahlonipheki va huvo maAfrika-Dzonga va rikwerhu. Holobye, we are staring at what was a preventable water crisis in the face, which shares many of the hallmarks of the energy crisis. The light at the end of the tunnel is the light of an oncoming train coming at full speed down a damaged line with a driver absent from the controls. We must do something, and we must act with urgency to prevent further damage. Yet I must say, Holobye, your statement lacks urgency. It's like we have time. We do not have time. We must act now. This water emergency is a combination of both natural and man-made causes. Compounding existing water scarcity, aging and inadequate infrastructure is making a bad situation much worse. There's little we can do to change our fate as a water-scarce nation. We must do everything we have to do to fix the water infrastructure. That work starts with technical skills and political will. Yet, your statement makes very little mention of the skills required for the monumental task of fixing, maintaining, and upgrading water infrastructure. No effort should be spared in finding the talent required to mitigate and reverse the water crisis. Across the country, on average, 30% of our treated potable water is lost to leaks, cracks, and outdated systems. That's billion of liters of water and billions of scarce rands lost every year. As a result, cities and rural areas alike are left vulnerable with water supplies that are often unreliable, contaminated, or simply unavailable. For rural communities, poor infrastructure can mean traveling long distances to find a reliable water source. In urban centers, burst old pipes, delayed repairs cause water cuts, disrupting homes, schools, and businesses. We must also recognize the value of smart technology. By using modern systems to monitor and detect leaks in real time, we can dramatically reduce water loss and respond to problems faster. Addressing water infrastructure won't happen overnight, but it is one of the most crucial steps we can take to combat water scarcity. Let's work together to ensure that no drop is wasted and no community is left behind.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ghana, Honorable Wester.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think it's become very clear that if the gift the previous administration gave us was water shedding, the gift that this administration will give us is water shedding. If the previous administration gave us load shedding, the gift that this administration will give us is water shedding. I think that's become very clear. Johannesburg has recently joined scores of towns and cities in this country who have faced intermittent water supply, and experts continue to argue that without urgent investment in infrastructure and strict accountability measures for all stakeholders, our water crisis will only worsen. And the minister herself has acknowledged that 90 billion is required to clear the existing infrastructure backlog, and that's before we start to speak of future projects to keep up with the demand. Yet instead of accountability, what we have seen is blame games that come from the department and the municipalities. I want to quote the minister from a press briefing in August, where she said, "People do not seem to appreciate that the provision of water services is the responsibility of municipalities and not the National Department of Water Sanitation. It would be a priority for us to correct this misunderstanding and to encourage communities and leaders to hold their municipalities accountable." But, Honorable Speaker, let us remember that the accountability does not stop at municipalities. The minister must herself answer to the audit outcomes of her own department, which are deeply concerning. Water supply projects, only 13% have been completed. Bucket sanitation and system eradication, less than 6% have been completed. Dam rehabilitations, only 1 of the 9 planned dam rehabilitations have taken place. So, Minister, you need to account for that. We can't just only hold municipalities accountable when we actually have infrastructure that also compromises them, apart from their own shortcomings. Secondly, the Water Services Act grants you the power as the Department of Water and Sanitation to hand over distribution authority. You said we want to change the law. We don't want to change the law. The law already gives you that authority, Minister, to say if the people of this country are not getting water, other entities can be able to distribute that water. We are not going to allow on our watch for a crisis that affects the economy, for a crisis that affects communities, for a crisis that affects clinics, hospitals, and schools in this country, not on our watch. So, Minister, it's time to take responsibility and stop deflecting. You have the power to be able to change the situation and turn this water crisis around. Thank you.
Thank you. ATM. Al-Jama, Advocate Salih.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Assalamu alaikum to all. First, Al-Jama applauds the Honourable Minister for recognising a people's right to water and not using the term access to water. But our first step in government is accepting responsibility for failures to ensure the right of water. There's a huge outcry over the water crisis in major cities, but in Transkei, the former apartheid homeland from where our first resistance fighters is from, they are the last to enjoy the right to water. It is pathetic that these communities must wait for more than 20 years for the building of the Umglovu Dam. The catchment area of the dam is the best in Southern Africa, but water is going to waste. Al-Jamaa calls on the minister to lay the first bricks of the Umglovu Dam. Some of South Africa's major cities such as Gauteng, Tshwane and KwaZulu-Natal are experiencing water shortages where taps have either run dry and in some areas there are intermittent supply while other areas have no water at all. Johannesburg loses about 2/5 of the treated water it gets through leaks and theft, and the eThekwini municipality in Durban loses 46%. We cannot fully blame the water crisis on climate change. The fact is that the country is losing water and the situation will not change. The water infrastructure upgrades as reservoirs are not built to keep up with the current needs of the country, and there has been a constant lack of foreseeability and accountability by government. The biggest problem causing the water crisis lies with the decaying infrastructure, which has been developing over decades. This has been allowed to happen amidst the exponential growth of businesses and population, and of course the cases of corruption and mismanagement by politicians and officials. Other factors contributing to the current crisis includes delays in swift response to burst pipes and leaks, failure to replace aging pipes and lack of efficient oversight on infrastructure. South Africa is a water-scarce nation, yet vast amounts are lost due to leaks. Al-Jamaa appeals to the minister to compel water boards to move from using asbestos pipes to polycarb pipes. National government must introduce workable water-saving incentives, and the various stakeholders at different levels of government should be more accountable in the management of water resources. The same way we appeal to government to fulfill their duties and the responsibilities to the right of water, we appeal to South Africans, especially those who have easy access to water, to do their part collectively to value the gift of water. Honourable Minister, please let us not next year come and stand at this podium again while we hear boasting of improvements, but yet our people consistently suffers. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. NCC, Honourable Adams.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Minister, the Progressive Caucus, and the Government of National Failure. You know, Minister, to term our right to water, you are 100% right. But we also have a right to education, we have a right to healthcare, we have a right to housing, we have a right to safety. All of these are failures of the ANC over the last 30 years. It is time that South Africa admits that all those glorious checks that were written to us 30 years ago have bounced. It is easy, Minister, to use climate change as the excuse for water waste when 40% of our water is lost due to leakage, which is the cause of lack of maintenance. Now, there's a budget for maintenance, but we know what happens to budget in this country. The sad thing, Minister, is that the only thing that may save us is desalination. But we've learned in the Western Cape that desalination, it goes to Israeli companies, and we know what those people think of the rest of us. We sit here, Minister, in your bed, in your GNU, with a Zionist entity that cuts off the water on the Cape Flats. If you doubt it, I invite you to follow me one day. I'll show you. Come to Cape Town. Come and see pensioners unable to take their medication because these Zionist right-wingers that are in your bed, in your GNU, take out our water meters. Come to Mannenberg. Come and see the feces in the street where our children are expected to play, where our children are expected to develop. Water cut off by the Zionists sitting in this room. Madam Speaker, Minister, understand that in this room, they've mentioned agriculture, the importance of agriculture. They didn't mention the human capital that is killed on the farms by these right-wing farmers for as little as an apple. The state of our people, very soon, our poor will be hungry and thirsty. This government, has done nothing for our poor. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The PAC. PAC. UAT. UAT. Good. Good. ANC, Honourable Titebe.
Honourable Speaker, honourable members, ntumelle ke nke motsotso ona ho lebisa matshidiso a ka le ya lekgotla la heso la African National Congress malapeng a bashanyana ba babedi ba ha Mkhekwa le Sijentu ba dilemo tse 11 ka ho hlahlamana ibile e le baahisane mane Ward 16 Motsethabong Machabeng ho la Freystad. Bashanyana bana ba ile ba kgangwa ke metsi mokoting e leng a launching pit o chipilweng ke rakontraka mono projecteng ya ho ntjhafatsa dipeipi tsa tsamaiso ya dikgwerekgwere le metsi motseng o. Honourable Speaker, perhaps today we must borrow from the wisdom of the Basotho, which says, and I quote, "Usike wa nyela sidiba," close quote. Roughly translated, this means do not defile the well from which you might need to quench your thirst. It is for this reason that we join you, Comrade Minister, in your great and bold efforts to raise awareness about water conservation demand and sustenance of this resource among end users. Ka ho re ipiletsa baahi bohle ba nang le bokgoni ba ho lefella ditshebeletso tse tshwanang le dikgwerekgwere le metsi ho etsa jwalo. Ha bao ba ileng hore ha bana bokgoni ba lokela hore ba ingodise hore bo masepala ba te ba thuswe ka ditjhelete tseo ke mmuso wa bohareng. To this end, I wish to submit that we have it within our power to ensure that our water resource management plans are foolproof and bound to launch us into a sustainable future in which the dignity and well-being of all South Africans is secured or guaranteed. This we must do, Honourable Speaker, through synergies and collaborations among and between government.
Order, Honourable Member. Somebody's phone is on and is making music. Can you please attend to it? Order. Order, Honourable Members. Honourable Members. Order. I am not asking any of you to point fingers at each other or to assist. All what I just said was anybody whose phone is not attended to must attend to. Can we allow the speaker on the podium to proceed?
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. To this end, I said, I wish to submit that we have it within our power to ensure that our water resource management plans are foolproof and bound to launch us into a sustainable future in which the dignity and well-being of all South Africans is secured. Thus, we must do through synergies and collaborations among and between government, and I'm referring here to all spheres, national, provincial, and local government, with emphasis, Madam Speaker, on the district development model, which is already showing signs of success. Communities themselves and community organizations, the private sector, by consistently pursuing the following. 1, water resource assessment. We need to start there. 2, assessment of current water availability. 3, assessment of current demand. 4, assessment of future demand. 5, assessment of future availability of water. 6, demand management plan. 7, actions for water resource management. And all of these elements, that's all of what the department is busy doing. Now, all of those members who would like to see evidence to that effect, every Monday must go to the ground and see that for themselves. And indeed, if they are skeptical or even cynical, they will not see the evidence that is so obvious before their eyes. Our country, Madam Speaker, is rich with history and heritage of our struggle, in which the masses of our people heeded the ANC's call for mass mobilization, among other pillars of struggle. Thus, we must consistently engage our citizens to ensure that all of the elements that I have raised are indeed aligned to the energies and the skills of all of our citizens and other valuable role players.
Those are live visuals unfolding in the National Assembly in Cape Town, the ANC making its own submissions in response to South Africa's water challenges.